everybody, this is the Vikstrand and today we're finally gonna get to review Zardoz. But before we do that, I have a small little sweeping statement to make first. There is a before and an after in your life when it comes to the movie Zardoz. Before you see the movie Zardoz, if you see a wacky, confusing, strange, surreal movie, you will say, that movie was really dumb and really strange. And after you have seen Zardoz, when you see a strange, surreal, bizarre movie, you will say, that movie was really dumb and it was really surreal and strange, but not in the same ballpark as Zardoz. And that should explain everything you need to know about this movie. Also, fun fact, the beginning of this movie with the disemboweled head of the wizard or wherever he was explains the story. The reason they did that was that they thought that they needed this exposition to explain the plot to the audience. They wouldn't be completely, fucked in the head with this. They had all of this scripted verbiage that this disemboweled head were flying around and trying to explain so that people would not be confused. This disemboweled head used the English language like if I would drink a bathtub of alphabet soup and then projectile vomiting it over a canvas. It made me even more confused. It is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, but fact remains, this movie is the strangest, surreal, most bizarre and most inconsequential nonsense movie I've ever seen. But does that make that movie good or bad? As you can probably tell from my excitement of finally reviewing this movie, it can mean either. So let's go. This is Zardoz. The year is 2295, I think at least that is the case, and Sean Connery is a part of the exterminators. They roam around the countrysides and kill, rape and do all sorts of terrible stuff. And they for some reason wear these gigantic red ugly helmet things that look kind of ridiculous. They all pray to their gods. Stay with me. Zardoz, a floating stone head that kind of looks a little bit like Zeus, who comes through the air down to them, stay with me, and spews out guns, lots of guns, and proclaims that the penis is bad and the gun is good. Stay with me, don't leave me yet. And then, for some reason, Sean Connery gets into the head and is transported to a weird world where we have immortal beings dressed like this that puts him into weird tests of some kind to see how he performs erections by showing him mud wrestling and weird stuff. Stay with me. And it's a weird hierarchical society where if people misbehave, they are, people wish dementia on them, then they get sent to a home and what the fuck is going on? Jesus Christ, my head hurts. So, if you haven't understood this already, this is an absolute cavalcade of nonsense. You have no idea what's going to happen the next 5 minutes this movie goes on. If you think that you know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, you'll be sorry, as Warner Brothers cartoon once told me. This movie is the strangest movie I've ever seen in my entire life. It is completely insane, completely batshit nonsense, but it looks so astonishing. The movie has such a style, the movie has such a unique feel to it that it is difficult not to look away from it, because you'll laugh at how silly this is, you'll laugh at all the nonsense, you'll laugh at how hokey stuff looks, but there is also so much impressive things going around. The special effects actually looks good, mostly because this is, practical effects all around, and the sets have a very unique look to them. But actually the story itself about immortality and the choices you make and stuff like that actually kind of works. It is a story that you get immersed into. And they take this story serious. They just bathe it in enough acid to kill the 60s. And you have to accept that in order to appreciate this movie. The movie also has one of the wackiest endings I have seen in my entire life. I guess for some reason that being kissed by Sean Connery cures you of dementia. I mean, he's a sexy dude. Well, maybe not in this movie, unless you're thinking that Sean Connery with a Frank Zappa mustache, Tomb Raider pigtail, Manor Wars, leftover, leather thongs and hooker boots is a good look for Sean. I'm not sure, but I know one thing, this movie is so entertaining. There is so much fun to be had with it. And sure, this movie is all sorts of absolute nonsense, but I don't really care. There are moments in this movie, especially when he is in the tabernacle and he's running around, and John Boorman has officially said that this is a sequence he should have cut down, but he was just so impressed with how the special effects look, so he decided to keep it going. I would have sliced that in half and we wouldn't have missed it at all. But there are moments where the story kind of grinds to a halt and not lots of stuff happening, but they're able to of course pick it up for the batshit nonsense insane ending of this movie. Now, should you watch this movie sober? No! You should gather a bunch of people and you should see this movie and you should take a zip every time somebody does something weird, something stupid happens, something unexpected happens, or something is simply surreal and strange. And you'll probably die of alcohol poisoning within, I don't know, 12 minutes or something like that. The movie looks spectacular and has a visual appeal to it, despite being saddled with a very, very low budget. But this movie also feels 100% like John Boorman's vision. This is what he wanted to do, and that's what he went for. It should also be mentioned that Ireland's landscape does give this movie an otherworldly feel that I really, really appreciated. If you, just like me, really, really likes 1970s sci-fi movies, this is an absolute stormer movie. There are better movies that have been done, but this movie is by far the most unique of them, I would say. And as I say, the story is good. And I would be totally for a remake of this movie. I usually don't want to have remakes of this movie, but if they could find a balance between the hokey nonsense and the actually fascinating story, because this movie is also tied in a little bit with the movie The Wizard of Oz. How? You'll never guess. I don't know if this movie necessarily has good acting in it, but the fact is that this movie made me suspend my disbelief relatively fast and made me feel like I was there in 2295, and it sold the hell out of it. And I think that it should say something at least about it. I think that the people that made this movie were really, really committed to it, or they were high as fuck. This movie is difficult to give a proper rating to. Mainly because this movie is so surreal and so strange and so, oh my god, did they do that? What is this? What the hell is going on? On the other hand, the movie looks like nothing else. The movie feels like nothing else. Therefore, I settled in with a rating of 77. It is a really good movie and I really like it, but I can understand if people look at it and says, this is just some nonsense, and I would absolutely understand it. But for me, this was pretty damn excellent. There are moments where it drags a little bit and not a lot of stuff happening, and as I said, you get really confused the first time you see it. This is a movie that gets better every time you see it because you're noticing small little details, and also you're more prepared for when you're going to laugh the hell out of it. Is Zardoz the strangest movie you've ever seen? Comment below and I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.